So here's what I learned from Digestive Disease Week 2025, day one. So yesterday the conference was just really getting started, and there wasn't a ton that I got to see in relation to inflammatory bowel disease. But I did go to a pediatric session, which was really cool. They talked about some of the new treatments that they are testing in pediatric patients, and for me this is super interesting because pediatric IBD treatment really is behind in terms of what they can treat it with and how we treat adults. There just aren't quite as many meds out there that are approved for pediatric patients, so there's still a lot of research and clinical trials going on in this space, which I think is really awesome. And pediatric patients need to have, access to all the treatments that adults do. So they're currently testing a lot of new treatments, and they're getting some really good results. So this is some really good news for pediatric inflammatory bowel disease patients. And then I did go to some of the poster sessions. So the poster session is where these physicians and scientists put their research, kind of like a summarized research findings on a poster, and they get to present it. And so one that I thought was really, really interesting was they did a study on metabolic syndrome in inflammatory bowel disease, and this looks at things like diabetes and inflammatory bowel disease, patients who have obesity, hypertension, cardiovascular issues. And what I found really, really interesting was that they found that 1/3 of inflammatory bowel disease patients have metabolic syndrome, which is a little bit of a paradigm shift because metabolic syndrome, a lot of people think about obesity, and oftentimes people who think about inflammatory bowel disease think about malnourishment and things of that nature. But so this is a little bit of a different research to look at different things and how this metabolic syndrome affects the disease treatment and how those treatments are working. And what they found was that people who had this metabolic syndrome that had their metabolic syndrome under control, so their diabetes or hypertension, if they had obesity, had that under control, they actually responded a lot better to the inflammatory bowel disease treatment. So it's really just looking at the whole patient and looking at all of these different things and how they go into affecting the treatment of inflammatory bowel disease. So day one was really, really good. I am excited for day two here in San Diego, and I will report back later with some additional research that I see today. I'm excited to go learn some more and some of the new advancements in inflammatory bowel disease.